Today I wanted to predict mainnet 3.0 TFuel prices for the rest of June using the pricing data from the prior run-up to mainnet 2.0. These numbers are not going to correlate perfectly, as no two scenarios are exactly the same, but we can gain a greater fundamental understanding behind what is going on during these mainnet run-ups. I thought the best way to compare the TFuel prices from mainnet 2.0 to mainnet 3.0 would be to look at the prior all-time highs. That would be a good base to be able to project prices. The scenarios between both of the mainnet launches are actually very similar. We saw an all-time high price for TFuel of about half a penny in February 2020 before the correction of the greater crypto market from the pandemic in March. As for 3.0, we reached an all-time high of 56.5 cents in March of this year before the launch date was pushed back from April to now it is June 30th, and we saw another large correction. There is a discrepancy between the starting points from a month out in comparison to the all-time highs. We started much lower in 2.0, and I did try to adjust for that. For the low target price, I made that discrepancy smaller, and for the high price, I made the all-time high and the starting points the same for 2.0 and 3.0. So as we get to the comparison here, you will notice how slowly 2.0 TFuel started here. We did not really see much movement until the midpoint of the third week. Now for 3.0, June has been very explosive so far for TFuel. You will notice that the projections all the way down for week 3, we have already beaten that by the end of the first week for 3.0. The all-time high was already smashed by June 8th and June 9th. And you will notice that generally there is one, sometimes two really good days, followed by a lot of mediocre days, and the weekends are very poor. That's where a lot of our correction has taken place. I did not do any trading these first couple weeks. I had noticed that the weekends were very poor, so I did have some cash on the side, and just this last weekend where we had a very large correction here after a very large run-up, that was a great time to add some more TFuel in preparation for this last run here at the end of June. So as of the 14th, that's our last point that we had. So these in italics as we go down, if you were, because we got off to such a fast start, if you were to correspond where we're at now with what happened day by day in 2.0, that's what you would get. I'm not so sure that it's gonna be too accurate because of how explosive we've already been. So I could see that going two ways. We could just continue on and see out of this world numbers for TFuel at the end of this month, or we could see much lower gains in the core of the mainnet run up because we saw such explosive growth early on. We can only see how it goes. And the fourth week, the last week before mainnet was where the big time numbers started to come in for TFuel last time. And we will take a look now at the largest numbers the largest projections. And you'll notice we've picked up here 8 days before launch. This is where between days 9 and 4, that's where all of our growth happened. It did not happen on day 0 of the launch. That was actually a very bad day. So that this is the quintessential buy the rumor, sell the news. If you haven't bought in at this by this week, probably that's we're on our moonshot. You're probably gonna have to sit this one out. If anything, that would be before we get to the launch. This is when you're going to be looking to sell, if that's what you do. If you're just a hodler, then you just hodl. But if you look at this data here, it would be very interesting to perhaps sell high with the opportunity as we get closer and eventually surpass the launch to rebuy back in for more TFuel than you started with. That will be up to you. So we'll notice on day 4 and day 3 is where we hit those new all-time highs. Eventually, we saw a 4.5x for TFuel, a little bit projecting a little bit lower this time. As I said, we already have gotten off to such a fast start. Reasonably, we would be looking at about $1 to $2.50 from where we're at now. That's a pretty large gain. And if you want to put on your moon boots, I don't think $5 is totally insane. I don't think we're going to see it, but hey, if you want to daydream a little bit, just imagine $5 TFuel all the way from a penny. I mean, a lot of people will be very, very, very happy with $5 TFuel. But the more realistic numbers are going to be around $2 to $3, I think. I think we could even go a little bit higher than this. I think we could see 3. But I would be very surprised if we hit under 2 for the new all-time high. It is interesting to note that THETA hit, for 2.0, THETA hit the all-time high actually on the launch date, probably even the night before. Now, these price numbers from 2.0 are not entirely perfect. They're very close because CoinMarketCap did have a few days where they didn't have any data for some reason, so I had to look at some other places like CoinGecko, and their numbers were a little bit different. So, but we're not looking for exact numbers. We just want to kind of have a broad picture to be able to try to gain some insight into what's going to happen to make better decisions. So in 2.0, TFuel had their big move first, and then it looks like THETA took a lot of that momentum into the mainnet, and then THETA sold off. So it could be something where starting the week before, around this day 9 through day 4, maybe you want to move into THETA, catch the THETA run up, and then possibly take profits at that point. But I would be looking to start taking profits off the table, especially when we get into a 3rd day in a row of profit. That's going to be a big sign that we're near a top, because it's not going to run this hard forever. It's going to have to cool off. And this is where everybody's going to start to look taking profits, and a little bit of a rug pull, unfortunately. If you get in late here to the party, you're going to be quite disappointed, I think. But we hit a 7 days, we doubled. Then 4 days, we doubled again. If you haven't started taking profits by that point, I would start considering it. mainnet was down 28%, and the following couple weeks were also bad. It's just a lot of red here, a lot of green here, and a lot of red here. So it does make you consider selling high and then buying back in low, and really doubling, maybe even tripling your amount of TFuel or THETA. Because you could go from up 338% to only up 68%, which 68% is great, but that's a very big drop from $2 to $3 down to just under $1. These moon prices, oh man, that would be great to see, but this is really what we're looking at, guys. This is really the projections that I think a lot of people are going to be very happy by the last week of June. Very happy.